Hello, hello. This is the 212th Test from the Future, an experimental podcast from the year 2225, which we are sending from our present to yours. My name is Dirk.
And my name is Simon.
And we're putting the past in podcast. Today we spent the whole day in the park.
Yep, celebrating May the 4th.
Celebrating May the 4th. And I would say we're rather tired. Is that the word?
A little bit tired, a little bit toasted.
Yeah, exactly. Tired and toasted, that's the word.
Yeah.
It was a really nice, long, hot day outside. We made the most of it.
Exactly.
Shall we explain May the 4th for a second?
Yeah, right, because they may not... I think it was... So yes, big national holiday. Everyone gets the day off from whatever they're doing otherwise.
Yeah.
Jumble sales tend to be the thing. That's what we went to.
Yeah.
So people selling off stuff they don't want or need anymore, but hey, you folk maybe will make good use of those things.
And it's, I think it originated in the Star Wars franchise.
Right. The thing, that was the origin story of Yoda.
Yep. And since Star Wars has been around for so long, I'm assuming maybe this...
Yeah, right, May the 4th was probably a national holiday back then too.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. So we still don't want to presume you know exactly what we did. The
jumble sale, like I mentioned?
Yeah, we did, let's say we did the usual stuff. Yeah. So it's like we went to the park, there was a big jumble sale there, so we browsed this, we bought something.
Had a couple of beers while we walked around. That's where the toasted comes from, like the nice warmth from the sunshine, the nice fresh air, and the tasty beers. It was a good combination.
Definitely, yeah. And I like it with the jumble sale. They were not just selling Star Wars stuff.
No.
Actually, they were mostly not selling Star Wars
Right.
stuff.
It's not Star Wars themed. Like, sure, I mean, that's where the holiday comes from, but exactly, everyone was selling everything.
Yeah. And like I already hinted at, we did buy something. We were not going to spoil it because we're going to...
I mean, if people have seen the title of the episode, maybe it's spoiled, but maybe not.
Yep. Yeah,
maybe they listen to these blind, like they just tap play and don't actually read what it's about.
That's what I would do.
Same. Sure, and there was also face painting, which is always a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I got myself an orangutan face.
Yes, you can still see that.
Yeah, I left it on. I haven't washed it off for the show.
For me, I got my face painted as a Dark Scooter.
Yeah.
Very, very old Star Wars character.
Right. From nearly 200 years ago, yes.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, I think it was initially portrayed by Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
Many iterations since, of course. So but I washed it off. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah. I mean, our listeners cannot see it, but
true. I should have kept it on just for the kind of to stay in the May the 4th. But the day was so hot. So,
yeah.
I mean, it was kind of like I was sweating, and then so you could already see
it was already starting to melt. Yeah, and right with the orangutan face paint, that kind of works. Like, hey,
True.
Maybe I've got some white hairs or whatever growing over my face, but a bit harder with a mask there.
Yeah, and also again here it was like I think most of the face paintings that they offered were not actually Star Wars related.
Right. No. Right. Maybe our listeners are imagining some point in the next 200 years for them that there's an orangutan character in Star Wars. There is not.
No. Although I guess there might just have been an orangutan at some point.
True. We just don't remember.
Yeah.
200 years of films is a lot of films to remember, yeah.
But also like the music, there were all kinds of musicians around. But also I liked the big Star Wars concert on the central stage. That was pretty cool. There was this classic orchestra playing classic Star Wars tunes. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the usual stuff. There was somebody juggling and usual bank holiday stuff, I would say. Yeah, but we bought something.
Right, and that's the thing that we're actually going to talk about today. We bought a bunch of rockets. A whole bunch, all different sizes. I mean, relatively small ones, but some are really small, like maybe a couple of centimeters long.
Yeah.
Others are a bit longer, like 20 centimeters long. But yeah, we found a store that was, had a lot of them.
Yes.
You could just buy them by the bucket.
Exactly. You could get a discount the more rockets you bought.
Yeah.
I think by this point, maybe we were already a little bit toasted.
A little bit toasted. I know I was, yeah.
And also, for some reason, it's like you can only you can pass just so many stalls before really buying something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because that's what you're supposed to do in jumble sale, right? It's not like a.
I mean, you can browse, yeah, but at some point you're like, I've been here for half an hour. Folk here do actually want to sell their things, so only feels polite.
And it is called a jumble sale, not a jumble browse. You know,
Correct,
it's like
correct.
it's kind of if you're not buying anything, what are you doing there?
Yeah.
But I think it was also a bit of a on a whim, but the deal was just so good. Yeah, and there was two of us, so we could
Exactly, share the costs.
Yeah. But yeah, like you were saying, like tiny rockets, big rockets, and what do you do with rockets?
So what we did with them is we attached them to things so that those things could fly.
Yes.
Simple as that.
I think that's kind of like.
I mean, that's what they're really for, you know?
Yeah, to make things fly. And also like make things fly fast and make things fly
chaotically.
Exactly. Chaotically and with a lot of noise.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the three main aspects of rockets.
Yeah. They're for fun.
Yeah, fast, flying, chaotic, noisy devices. Yeah, that's kind of it. And with these sets, I mean, like, you never just have a rocket, right?
Not just one, no.
Exactly. So, I mean, you always have a rocket plus something that goes somewhere. So these rockets were really well made to attach to anything.
Yep.
Kind of magnetic, I guess.
They had all the attachments, right? Magnetic for attaching them to metal things, Velcro for attaching them to cloth.
Yeah.
What's it called? Sticky things, if you just need to just stick them onto like glue, basically. And little hooks for if you needed to attach them to like meat.
Yeah. Very creative. Some of them had all of them, and some of them were just tailored for
one specific thing.
Yeah, exactly. So then we were in the park, slightly toasted in a hot spring afternoon.
Feels like summer already. But yes, strictly speaking, it's spring.
With a bunch of rockets. So what do two healthy young men do when they have a bunch of rockets?
They attach them to things and then make those things fly.
Make things fly. Exactly. So that was kind of our slogan for the afternoon.
Yeah.
And
we figured, for our listeners, let's tell them about the things that we made fly and how they went about, how did that go, basically?
Exactly. It's kind of like, how was your day? Well, we made a bunch of things fly with rockets. Okay, that could be interesting. So, I think what was lucky for us was that by the time we came up with the idea, the jumbo sale was pretty much over. And there were a whole bunch of things left behind.
Right, like exactly. Some folk take with them the stuff that maybe has some more value that they want to try and sell in the future. But a lot of stuff is like, you know what, I don't want to carry this home again, so they leave it behind.
Yeah.
We had lots of supplies.
Exactly. So wait for somebody to clean this stuff up, whatever. But luckily we were there. We didn't actually specifically clean
We moved stuff around.
Yes. I mean, I think the idea started where we were like, we're in a park here, we have all rockets, we should find something. And then,
right. And at first we were looking at pine cones, trees and so on. But then we spotted all the stuff that was being left behind, and that gave us the idea to make use of that.
I'm trying to remember what we started with.
I don't remember what I started with. I started with a schnitzel.
That's right, the schnitzel.
Yeah. I mean, I'd been eating, but by that point I was really full, and I still had like pretty much most of a schnitzel left. So I figured, what if I make this fly up into the sky? Maybe a bird will catch hold of it, have a nice meal. True.
That
was my thinking anyway.
I think also at this point we didn't really have the idea to try it out with a whole bunch of things.
Right, no. That was the first thing, yeah. So first it was just, hey, I've got a schnitzel here, spare schnitzel. Let me feed a bird with it. So I attached a rocket to it. It went up. No bird happened to be flying over at the time, so it just came back down. But it was still fun.
Was that... Did we try once?
I tried it a few times.
Because I remember we hit a bird, but I don't know if that was with a schnitzel.
That's sad. Yeah, that was a bit sad. I can't... it's blurring together a little bit, so I don't remember if that was with a schnitzel, but either way, that was sad when we hit the bird.
Yeah.
It's fine. No, exactly. It's fine.
But
a little bit of a shock,
Yeah, I guess maybe it could have been a wake-up call, but wasn't really. But but the schnitzel, But so did ever any animal grabbed it from the air? No
I
bat,
think that requires a bit more coordination, like maybe arrange with exactly a bat or a seagull beforehand. Hey, be at this place around this time. We hadn't done that, so it didn't work out.
So because there was a squirrel that at one point was eating the schnitzel, but that was
after it had come back to ground.
Yeah, exactly. So and before it went back up again.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's remember the schnitzel. Yeah, so I can't remember the order where we came up with things. I do remember that initially we were basically limiting ourselves to whatever left behind by the jumble seal.
True. But actually, right after the schnitzel, when it kept coming back to Earth, we realized, okay, animals maybe won't eat all this up. Then we had the idea to send up rubbish bins to catch the stuff.
True.
Which was a little bit forward thinking because there wasn't that much stuff falling down from the sky, but we were like, how about we send up bins to catch the schnitzels?
That was true. That was relatively early on. And because the bins, they weren't left behind by the...
not by the people selling stuff. No, they were meant to be... I mean, they were there for people to throw away stuff.
Exactly. And some of them had stuff in there.
That was the trick, yeah. So when we sent them up, and most of them stayed like upright, but a couple of times they kind of tipped over and then all the rubbish came out.
That looked really cool. Actually, I like that. Cool.
Yeah.
So it's like, especially the ones that just came down and they had everything still in there, I just stand them back up again. Because especially if they made a curve, there's like this curve.
Like an arc? Or
an arc, that's what I'm looking for, yeah. And so they were basically leaving behind them like a trail of rubbish through the sky because they were emptying it as they were making the arc. That looked pretty cool. What I liked was when we were having the trying to do a bit of a race with two bushes.
Yeah, right.
So
like I mentioned initially, we were thinking to use trees or plants thereabouts.
Yeah.
And the idea was to exactly have a bush race.
And also, like, the bushes weren't, I guess, also not left behind by the jumble sail, but they were planted nearby.
Yeah.
I guess we kind of widened our range as we were
after
going
these
along.
Initial things, yeah.
But also the thing, like with like the rockets, for a tree they need to be really strong, but like the bushes, they didn't have that deep roots.
True.
And then we could have a race with them. Especially who can have a bush go the highest, or
which one comes back down to Earth the fastest.
Exactly. Or we could aim for the pond and so on.
Yeah, specific goals.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think any of the bushes ever made it to the pond.
I don't think so, no. And in that sense, it was a bit like, as all of this, it was a bit chaotic.
Yeah.
We weren't keeping so close track of where they went or how fast they went.
Exactly. It was like most of the fun, I think, was coming up with the idea. We can tie it to bushes. And then
seeing the thing fly.
Exactly. And it goes off. And then like most of the time, like you were doing something and I was doing something. And I wasn't even looking all the time when you were doing something because I was doing something myself. But with the bushes, at least we try to kind of tie it. But of course, especially if you had to unroot the roots. Yeah.
I mean, we learned a bit, so if we decide to have another flying bush race in the future, I think I'll pay more attention to how much earth gets torn up with the roots.
Yeah.
Because that affected the weight and the way it kind of, moved through the air.
True. Although what I thought was a nice coincidence, the earth covered like all the rubbish that fell down from when we did the waste bins, a tiny bit.
A little sprinkling, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we could just say that it was already like that. Look, there's already dust on it.
Yeah, right. It wasn't fresh.
I saw you working with the cutting board. How did that go?
So, that is one of the items I found. Like, it had been for sale, but no one had bought it. And I had the idea, hey, if I can send a cutting board up into the sky with a knife on it, then someone else could make use of it. Comes back down, cutting board lands in front of them with a knife. They can use it to chop up some like radishes or some carrots or something.
So just shoot it somewhere to have it land somewhere, maybe where somebody is who could use it.
I mean, there were other folk having like picnics and so on, so I imagined someone could make use of it. What I didn't really take care of was securing the knife to the cutting board. So it went up well enough, but then when it was coming down, it looked dangerous. You could see the blade of the knife glinting in the sunlight. It looked very pretty, but I was really worried for a moment there it might hurt someone. Very luckily, it landed actually, so the cutting board landed first on the ground, and the knife went dunk straight into it.
It came loose.
It came loose because I hadn't. Thinking about it now, I should have basically stabbed it into the cutting board initially or tied it to it with some rope or something. But I just left it balanced on top.
Okay.
That was a little bit dangerous.
Okay, and then the cutting board came down and the knife landed right into it.
Yeah, that was good luck. bit dangerous.
Good luck, but dangerous. I think
Not something to rely on.
I think that's a good summary for quite a lot of the things that we tied rockets to. Remember the dog biscuits?
Yes, that was where we used the super tiny rockets, like one rocket per dog biscuit.
Exactly, one rocket per dog biscuit. I thought my idea was to just have it on kind of like ground level, and then my idea was dogs are going to notice and then chase it.
Right. They'd catch the smell of the dog biscuit. It would whiz past them and they'd go, what's that? And then chase after.
Exactly. And then most of the time it didn't work because it wasn't close enough to the dogs or it was going too fast or whatever. And then the one time it worked, a dog ran after it and then swallowed it.
But with the rocket.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
so
tricky.
It seemed fine.
Like the rocket had spent its fuel, I guess?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So the dog was okay?
Yeah, as like the dog, didn't give any sign of having a problem whatsoever. But and also the dog didn't fly away or whatever. So
that's good.
But that was the point where I was like, okay, I guess it worked. Let's go move over to something more, let's say, innocent.
Oh, innocent, yeah.
I think
like the idea of it being on food that a person or an animal could eat. That's a little bit of risk there. So something else.
I think that's when we started using the blankets.
Yeah, exactly. Like I attached one to each corner of the blanket and tried to synchronize it up, so that it would fly through the sky like as a big, basically look like a flying carpet.
Yeah,
which we have as separate things. But I figured, hey, it'd be fun to make one out of a blanket. I didn't get the timing quite right, so like it went up, but then they kind of all twisted together, so it became like a big tangled blanket in the sky.
Yeah, but I liked it because it looked very arty.
Yeah,
and a lot of the other stuff. I mean, there were quite a few blankets also left around because of the jumper sale, not because they were selling them, but because they were sitting on them.
Right.
And a lot of the other stuff that we did was kind of, let's say, more explosive. I mean, things didn't actually explode, but mostly it was like
right. And the blanket slowed things down and made it more calm.
Yeah, exactly. Like because if one rocket was going faster than the others, it was kind of like held back with the rest. And because they were going in opposite directions, it kind of stayed in one place. But that kind of like because how the blanket was moving. I'm moving my arms now as well. You can't see.
Sure. But it kind of span around in the air for a bit.
Exactly. Yeah. So it looked very artsy and almost relaxing. I mean, there was still the noise there. But I thought that was kind of soothing. I thought it was a good idea to move away from, like, say, the more spectacular things at this point.
I just realized something that our listeners may not realize. So these rockets, they're repulsor rockets. That means they're not actually shooting flames out the back of them. So we weren't worried about, because maybe our listeners are used to the kind of rockets that shoot fire out the back, and they're worried about things catching fire.
Okay. Yeah.
These are repulsor rockets, so we didn't have to worry about, for example, the blanket,
Oh, yeah.
If they had been old style, like flame rockets, it might have caught fire, would have been pretty dangerous. Nope, repulsor rockets, all good.
I'm assuming that if they were rockets with fire, maybe we wouldn't have done all of this.
Maybe, hopefully, we would have we would have been a bit more safe.
I think
more cautious.
The blankets they could have been like a nice closure, but I think we did the
if we planned ahead, yeah. But yeah, we didn't plan ahead, so exactly the next thing was toadstools. Yeah. I had the idea of those, so that we were lucky enough. We found some really huge ones.
Yeah,
they looked really cool. Yeah, the red ones with the white dots. And we had the idea. Okay, what if where the white dots are, that's where we put rockets, and then like turn it upside down, and it'll shoot up in space or shoot up into the sky at least. But okay, because they were all at different angles, it just kind of span around on the floor.
Yeah, but I mean, this looked like a more spectacular version of the blanket, but it's exactly. Just imagine like a big toadstool. Like spinning and jumping around on the floor like it has a seizure. But actually, that looked pretty spectacular.
It did.
Could have.
It was fun to watch.
Exactly, it was fun to watch. Could have become like a show or something.
Yeah, almost like it was breakdancing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also there was maybe one of the more, let's say, stupid things. The idea of like very carefully attach them to passerbys.
Passers-by, like people walking by.
Passing by, just without them noticing, and then see them kind of like being lifted up in the air. Especially it was more like with the tiny rocket, so they wouldn't just they were just not immediately shooting up into a skyscraper, but just being lifted slightly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And okay, but people don't appreciate. Like, it's one thing if you're doing that on purpose, then it can be fun. The people we did that to, they didn't really appreciate it.
No, they didn't see the same,
like the funny side.
Yeah, exactly. I had the idea.
In hindsight, I see why. Yeah, I think I was a little too toasted.
Yeah. Also, yeah, it's fair enough. Yeah, it's like, but they definitely didn't think it as funny as we were.
It's that thing where sometimes I forget that people don't know what I'm thinking. So, like if they knew what I was thinking, they'd be like, oh, this is super funny. Yeah, okay, but they're going about their life. They've had a nice afternoon, maybe. They're going somewhere else. Then all of a sudden they like, it feels like they're tripping maybe, but then they're like a few feet up in the sky and then fall down again.
Yeah, okay, maybe. I always feel like if I'm thinking about things too much in advance, I'm not doing most of the stuff.
Right.
I guess, but some of the stuff that we did, especially the last thing we did.
Well, okay, that was the last thing for a reason, yeah.
Yeah. You want to tell the listeners the last thing?
At this point, we really had so many good ideas. Now, I think, by definition, the best idea we had of the night before we needed to stop was we thought, police sometimes need to get places quickly. We could help them by attaching rockets to their hoverboards so that when they need to chase after someone or whatever, they'll be going extra fast.
And handily, we found some
right.
parked.
That's why we got the idea. We saw these police hoverboards parked. We saw the police in the distance taking care of whatever they needed to take off, and we thought this will be a really nice present for them.
Yeah, exactly. Or have the hoverboards basically fly towards them. It's like, hey,
so they don't need to walk back here.
It's kind of like a service, It's like, because at this point we were just basically looking around. Is there anything where we haven't tied rockets to yet? And then we thought this was a very good idea.
They did not. The police, they did not appreciate our efforts. And confiscated the rockets that we had.
Confiscated the rockets, yeah. There were still quite a few left.
They took all our buckets.
I'm sure we otherwise would have come up with a whole bunch of more ideas. Yeah, that's going to be for some other time.
Yeah, maybe next year.
Maybe next year, May the 4th. I'm already looking forward to it. Yeah, forward.
That's the word for it. That works.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, okay, so that was our day in the park. Things with rockets.
Yeah, it was a very nice day. Pretty long day. A little bit tired now, but it was good overall.
Okay, so this was all a little bit spontaneous, so we don't have any listener questions prepared. We're also kind of hot, kind of tired.
Yeah, exactly. We can answer emails next week.
Yeah.
But let's wrap up for today.
Yes.
So, listeners to Test from the Future, number 212, listening on, let's say May the 4th. Please send an email to michaellasagna5@gmail.com. Put the number 212 in the subject so that we know this episode successfully went back in time. And give us your ideas for what to attach rockets to.
Yes, good idea. And how to get more rockets. We need more rockets. All right, then for now, thanks for listening and see you in 200 years.
Bye-bye.